is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 41. We're recording this live, what seems like at an ungodly hour, on Monday, September 5th. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. My name's Rob Woodbridge. I am obviously from Untether.tv, and with me, as always, from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, nice and relaxed on a long weekend. Why don't you introduce yourself, Asif?
All right. I'm Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Found at thelbma.com or thelbma on Twitter, or Asif R. Khan on Twitter as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is an anomaly for us because this is a morning. We're showing how clearly we can do it at night, we can do it in the morning, but this is clearly early in the morning. We've never done an episode this early, and I probably would suggest that we would never do this again. Correct?
We're getting ready for back to school. That's what it is.
It is.
Prepping ourselves for tomorrow.
Yes, I can't wait to get back to high school. I'm like grade 3 senior this year. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, busy week. And the upcoming week is a short week, but it's going to be even busier, I think, that simply because not only is it back to school, but it's back to business, thank God. This whole summer, the summer doldrums, August has been so quiet, no big announcements, nothing's happened. I can't wait to get to... Wait a second. That was the busiest August I've ever been through.
There was certainly plenty this summer.
Well, it just continues to roll, and people are rolling out these location services everywhere. And today we're going to be talking about Flickr. We're going to be talking about this neat little company called GooTip, Wajam. We're going to go international on you with a couple of with a Korean company and also a UK company, talking about some funding, a great resource called Snapit. Just wait for that. And we're going to jump into it right away. I think we have to do this. And the first story that we're going to pull up is Flickr, because Flickr seems to have just kind of disappeared, it doesn't seem to be as relevant as something like Instagram over the last year or so. But people forget that they have hundreds of millions of users, and they're uploading more photos than anybody's. I think that the statistic is that they're uploading more photos than people are actually taking. I don't know how they do this, but let's talk about what Flickr's doing.
Yeah, so Flickr certainly, has been quiet, as you say, for the last little while, but they're big, they've got, millions and millions of users, and the big announcement this week from them is that they've enabled users to set up geofences, relative to the photos that they're taking. And so really what this means is that, not just tagging photos with location, but actually creating your own geofences. So if you're not familiar with geofences, or listeners are not familiar with geofences, this is this concept of setting up a virtual boundary or a virtual fence around a particular area, maybe around your home, your neighborhood, something like that. And then when people enter inside of those boundaries, they're inside of that geofence, and anything that happens in there is basically tagged. And so what Flickr is saying is that you can set up, these geofences, with these virtual boundaries, and basically when photos are taken inside of those fences, they're automatically tagged with those locations. So you don't have to go and tag each photo, separately or anything like that. And then you can also, which is what I really like about this, is not only are they tagged based on the fence that they're within, but you can control who has the ability to see those photos. So you might say, any photos taking inside my home geofence only allow my, mother-in-law, father-in-law, and other siblings to see, whatever the case might be, things like that. So you can control it down to those kinds of things.
That is what I think is very, very cool about what they're doing. I mean, Flickr, obviously, they're a canary in a coal mine, so to speak, when it came to, seeing really how the impact of these devices, these mobile devices, have had on how we take photos and how many photos we take. It was really at Flickr that they first showed that the #1 uploaded camera source was the iPhone 3GS, and then the iPhone 4. And this way, people are always worried about privacy and security around their own photos. And I like the fact that I can push up a photo and it be public, but there are certain ones that I do think that should be private. And this is one of the great things. There's always a battle in Facebook even about privacy, and I love this, where I can geofence anything that's on my property and say that only people that I know can see that. Everything else around,
right?
I don't care. That's a very it's an innovative way to do it, and we're going to start to see this obviously roll out. This is a no-brainer for Facebook, obviously, unless Flickr's got a patent on it. But I don't
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's just smart, and it makes tons of sense.
And it's the first time we could say that about Flickr since they were bought by Yahoo. So this is a big moment. We should all just take a second here, take a sip of coffee, and just enjoy this moment that Flickr is being innovative under Yahoo again. Okay.
Yeah.
Geofencing on Flickr. From Flickr, I love the names of these companies. It's like we're at a glut of domain names, whatever it is. But GooTip, which is a location-based Q&A built on the Twitter's API, on Twitter's API. It's early. Did I say that?
Yes.
This is a neat idea, but I'm not sure that that this is a business. But let's talk about this.
Yeah, so GooTip is an interesting new startup. These guys are based in France. So again, as you're going to see on the show today, we go all over the world to find this stuff. There's plenty going on in location on every part of the globe, but this is coming out of France. So GooTip's the company. The initial product that they've put out there is called Ask GTip, and it's exactly as Rob said. It's a location-based Q&A that enables you to ask questions. And what happens is there's some intelligence scraping going on in the question that connects it to location. So one of the examples that they give is they say, like, you ask a question like, who's the best doctor in the Mission District in San Francisco?
Yep.
It picks up on the Mission District semantic piece of the question, tags that as a location, and then pushes that out on Twitter via the API to anybody who's obviously in the Mission District area who has the ability to answer that question. So this is sort of like Local Mind and all those other Q&A services that we've talked about in the past, but specifically tied to Twitter. They have said that they're going to extend this to Facebook and Foursquare and Gowalla. But at the moment, this is Twitter.
Every time you say Gowalla, it's like the Montreal Expos of 1994. They were in first place, and then the strike eliminated the entire season, and they never got back again. And every time somebody says the Montreal Expos to me, I get a tear in my eye. Same thing when you say that about Gowalla. I get a tear in my eye.
Yeah.
Same reaction. I think that this is great because it's been classified as kind of like a cross between Quora, which is the Q&A site, which is
Yes.
it had its. I don't know if it's still popular or not, but it seems to be. And Yelp, right? That's and then you add your social graph into this, and I think that's a kind of a picture that I'm getting. But it also, what struck me about this, Asif, is that it's web based, and they haven't launched a mobile app yet. So this is a location based Q&A, and I'm sitting at my desk in a browser, and I know one's coming out soon. But it just seems that this would have been a much more natural launch on a mobile app, as a mobile app for a smartphone, than it does as a web app.
I don't disagree with that, but I think the web piece of this GooTip has been around for a while already, so I think they just kind of wanted to start their leverage what they've already got and kind of push that out. And I mean, the sooner they get to the mobile app, the better. But my feeling about this is that it's great. I like this whole concept of adding Q&A into your social graph. I like the way that Wajam, which is our next story, we're going to come to that, does it a little bit better around location and a little bit deeper into your social graph. The challenge that I have about all these companies is that they're building all of their infrastructure, all of their business on somebody else's data. And as a business guy, that is not something that I think that there is any IP. Who owns the users? Well, not really you. Who owns the data? Not really you. You're creating a search layer on top of that. And I suppose that there's some value in that, but really for long-term viability, you've got to be collecting something in the background. So hopefully these guys in France at GooTip are doing that, because this is just a hobby. Unless unbeknownst to us, there's this is really outsourced R&D by Twitter.
Well, you know what, this is. I mean,
right?
Sites like this are really, and even the product of the week that we're going to talk about. Are great for advanced trending, but Twitter's already done that. I mean, Twitter's really, Leo Laporte calls it the nervous system of the internet, which is where stories break. We all over the last year have experienced a point in time where we have found a story, a major news story or a minor news story that's just relevant to us, that we found that is broken on Twitter. And I think that that's one of the great things about this. And all of these services like GooTip feed and you know, distill and actually start to look at trending. And when we talk about this, you know, discovery engines, this is where I think that something like this could shine, based on questions and answers and response. And so, you know, it's probably early for these guys, but good luck. And I love the fact that, as you said, it's an international audience, that you know, location is not, oh, it's terrible. Location is not location specific. Anyway, so that's GooTip. I like it. I like it. Should be mobile though. Mobile first. Mobile first. Third story. Let's talk about these guys. Wajam. Wajam.
Wajam. So you know, you were talking about the expos, and these guys are actually based in Montreal. And so these guys, what they do is they basically have an add-on or an engine that sits on top of search engines. You know. And what it does is it lets you, you know, when you make a search for, you know, I'm looking for a hotel in New York, or I'm looking for, you know, whatever you're looking for, from that perspective, it basically then doesn't just bring you back the search listings around that from Google or what have you, but it brings you a social layer about what your friends on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else have said or done about that particular location. And so what I really like about this is, because this is something I talk about all the time, it kind of brings in the capabilities of, you know, that trusted relationship you have with your friends, or let's call it the social lens. So, you know, maybe I'm going on a trip, I'm going to Rome, I've never been there before. Yeah. Sure, I could pull up the travel guides and look at all the recommendations from everybody about what I should see. You know, we were just having a conversation, you know, before we started this morning, you know, but you're coming to Toronto with the family. Yep. And what should you do, right? And of course you could, you know, just search and find all the things that are going on and, you know, make your list. But, you know, there's people that, you know, that have been to those places before, or maybe live in those places, that, you know, might have a different insight that you trust more because these are your friends. Yep. And so Wajam basically brings that concept together and layers it on top of search engines. And so really powerful concept. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is really what all of this data should end up into, is that, you know, people search aimlessly, and the results that you get are always tagged. And I think Google's doing a great job of this with their +1 and you know, even Google Plus and has done a great job of curating it, so I can actually see the news or the events or the places that you've plussed or something like that. That gives me a little bit of sense of what my social graph is up to. But I love putting this layer on top of it, especially when you start to talk about location and culling from the people who live in these cities, as you said. So this is a great idea, and it's not new, but the way they've done this, they've just added it up as a sidebar, so you can see, you know, full context. Yeah. I like this a lot.
Yeah, and it works also on sites like Amazon and TripAdvisor. Yeah. They apparently have indexed over 1 billion pieces of content already, which, you know, took Google 2 years to do. So, you know, they're moving fast. They've added a location layer as well. So what that means is that you can also not just see, you know, content from your friends, but you can see where your friends have checked in before, you know, relative to these searches as well. So, you know, just lots of good correlation of data coming together around location and you know, these searches that you're making. So,
well, and I like this, this is something that I would definitely use. Again, the key is data, making sure that the data is relevant, and that it's culled appropriately. And you know what, everybody, when we look at this, we've also got to remember that it's also up to all of us as everybody else's social graph or social sphere to provide the data, right? And that's really where this has a massive opportunity. If we're all doing that, you've got your curated social graph right in front of you, locations, everything, recommendations. This is and it's endless. It doesn't have to be places. It can be product. It can be anything that you or I enjoy or didn't enjoy. It can be a restaurant. It can have a massive influence. So I think that what these guys are doing here at Wajam, that's the only way I can say it, are really at the tip. And there are a number of companies I know that are doing this right now, but we're at the tip of something that's going to happen because we've got to make sense of all this data. It's just
not the GooTip though.
No, not the GooTip. No. The real thing is that GooTip, it's a Q&A. It's like Quora. It's like I put it out there, I wait for a response.
Yeah.
But what I like about this is that I put it out there, and it basically searches my social graph for people who have already done that. It does a little bit extra for me to give me the data that I need right away. Face it, we're in an age of I don't like to wait. Nobody likes to wait, and a response time is always important. So Q&A there's always a place for it. Longer term, long form responses. But if you just go to GooTip's website and look at some of the questions that are flowing through, it's like, are there any dangerous places in New York?
Yeah.
There's a lot of fluff there. But if I say, what's it like staying at the W, in Times Square, or I'm interested in that, I can see the responses from everybody who's in my social graph, and we've talked about this I think since episode 1, so I'm really happy to see this stuff coming up now.
Yeah, no, it's good.
All right, Wham Jam adds location data. Jump ship over here to Jianping. This is an interesting story because of the massive growth. Just clearly massive growth going on.
Yes,
with
big
this company in
announcement
China.
here. So Dianping is .com is a Chinese company. These guys have basically were in the same business as Yelp, and in fact started before Yelp. These guys were founded back in 2003, so they've been around. They've been at this for a while. Mobile is something that's been relatively new to them the last couple of years, and so the big announcement for them this week is that massive growth, 20 times year over year. They're at 10 million mobile users now. This is a big going concern in China. I mean, these guys are 42 million monthly active users on the website, 20 million reviews, 1.2 million registered merchants. And spans 2,300 cities across China. So this is a big site. Like I said, it's the Yelp of China. We talked the other day about Jiaping, the Foursquare of China. This is the Yelp of China. And mobile is a big thing. What I like about it, a couple things I like about it. One is it's all platforms. I mean, this is iPhone, Android, Symbian, BlackBerry. It's everything. They've built location into this, as a key part of their model. Like they fully understand that from the mobile side, and I think that's why they're seeing so much growth. So you can find merchants, you can find deals, you can find all the stuff that we talk about every week on it. But it's layered in, and you're getting the tip content and the other content very rich. Obviously, 42 million monthly users posting content up there. And so you're getting this combination of location-based service plus very rich content about places and things. So really good.
It's pretty amazing. And what they're talking about is 500 million visits, monthly views on their website, dianping.com. And they're talking about 50% of that in the coming year coming from mobile. I mean, that's the influence. You see, I say it a lot. I'm a mobile guy, but mobile first, mobile first, mobile first, especially with location. It's the natural balance. But it just shows you that, done right, that's how influential it is. 50% of their traffic to their website is now coming from, will be coming from a mobile device. And I would say that that's going to, eclipse web. Who knows? I think web browsing, certainly in developing nations and large countries like China, where the infrastructure wasn't there to reach the outlying areas, so they don't have landlines, they don't have cable internet, they don't have broadband access on a big screen. We should be looking at those guys because their approach is definitely mobile first, and everybody's walking around with a mobile device, and they're not walking around with a computer. They're walking around with a smartphone. So
yeah, and I think the other interesting thing here is that I think that obviously consumers are using this. Consumers are contributing reviews and content to it. But there's 1.2 million merchants on the system. Yeah. That's a pretty big number of merchants to be on the system. And you think about, you know, how quickly they can convert that into these merchants offering deals and specials and, you know, time sensitive offers. You know, this thing could become pretty big from a mobile perspective alone and location perspective, let alone the site itself, which has been there forever. You know, huge potential here to grow.
Wow, so totally agree. And I like this is a great direction, and just shows that. And I think 10 million. I mean, if this is a 20x, these guys are growing at such a rate that as the population lights up and gets aware of what this is, what's happening here, I think the big key strategy for Dianping was to go multiple handsets. Like, this is one of those often overlooked things, especially in developing nations, and China's not a developing nation, but the outlying area is still, you know, not everybody's carrying, you know,
right,
an iPhone or an Android device. So it just shows you how big this is going to be, and it's pervasive. Now it's time to start innovating on top of this layer when you start to get these numbers. 10 million. They're going to eclipse Foursquare in a second. They're going to eclipse Yelp in a second. So that's great. I mean, this I would call this explosive growth, 20 times year over year. So dianping.com, dianping.com. Go check it out and see what those guys are up to. Learn from them. Last big story of the week. Wow, Scavenger. It's been so long since we've talked about Scavenger. But they're back in here. This is a UK initiative, obviously, with this company called TopShop. Let's talk about this. TopShop's UK based, right? It's a UK
TopShop
chain
based in the UK, and the significance of this really is that you know, this is Scavenger's first deal actually outside of North America. So I think it's interesting to see that you know, they're trying to expand, they're trying to move you know, over there, and the UK is obviously a good place to start. There's lots of big retailers based there. And what they've done is so they partner with TopShop, and really this is a back to school type of campaign. So it starts today actually, and so anyone who comes within a 500-meter radius of a TopShop, you know, you play a game on Scavenger's app, iPhone and Android, and basically you choose the reward that you want if you win this thing, which is 20% in-store discount or a chance to win a 500-pound shopping spree. And there's a number of challenges that you can complete, typical Scavenger model, complete challenges, win points, redeem. And this is basically almost a copy of a campaign that they ran in the US with Neiman Marcus. And so obviously now they're doing it with TopShop in the UK. I like it. I mean, I like that they're trying to go over across the pond and see what kind of uptake that they can get. You know, we'll see what the results are, and it's not only for back to school. They've got other challenges apparently lined up for October and whatnot as well. So, and TopShop's one of those companies that they're not new to location-based services. They've tried things all over the place. They did a really cool campaign with Instagram in Russia a while ago, as well as in the US and a few other places. So, you know, good on both parties here for continuing to experiment and innovate.
And I like this. You know, one of reading this article that that you forwarded or that I found was really an interesting fit. Is that you know, the idea is that you this is a trending app as well, and this is where it starts to get very interesting. Is that you know, the influence of location-based services or something like a scavenger game. When you put it in the hands and you offer a reward at the end of the day, and people start using it, the data that you collect is probably the most valuable thing. So what they're talking about is you know, fashion trends coming into the fall, and I think this is really interesting. You can manage inventory based on something like this. You know what to stock based on the impact or the number of photos or the number of check-ins, or the number of interactions with that product. And this is really, you add that layer on top of this stuff, and that's really where it becomes so exciting, because businesses are going to change what they carry, what their pricing is, based on the activity in a game like Scavenger, and especially with TopShop. This is pretty cool. But
yeah.
and what from a Scavenger perspective, what I love about this is that hey, don't reinvent the wheel every time. Right? This is, you know, the whole idea about being in business is you got to get to market and get out to market as quickly as you can. And if it did work with Neiman Marcus, and you have some great data from Neiman Marcus, just replicate that. Just start doing that with other businesses that allow you to actually grow it, right? And
Yep.
yeah, it doesn't have to be a customized this or a customized that every time. If it works, keep doing it. And I'd say keep doing it till it stops working, and then hopefully what you've got is something else in the back.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, Rob. So,
all right, so those were the 5 stories.
So sticking with TopShop and back to school and fashion, why don't we jump to the product?
Okay, yeah, let's do that. This is I mean, there's a theme here throughout this. I don't know if it's done on purpose.
It's back to school. This is the back to school episode.
It's a back to school episode, exactly. Yeah, this is Snapette, right?
Snapette, product of the week.
Yes, dun dun dun. Snapette. So let's talk about Snapette, because this is a. I mean, I don't carry purses. My shoes are okay, I suppose. Although my wife hates the shoes that I buy most of the time, so maybe I need this.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is Snapette, not Smurfette. This is Snapette, and so this has been described as the food spotting of fashion. And so effectively, it's if you're not familiar with food spotting, basically, you know, as you're out shopping, as you're out browsing at your favorite clothes, shoes, accessories, whatever it is that you do when you're out shopping, you basically snap photos. So hence the name Snapette. You snap photos of your favorite items, and basically they're all uploaded to a site, similar to the way food spotting works. So you snap photos of food, and then you can see, you know, to your earlier point of what we were just talking about, you can see what's trending globally, what's trending by a specific location. You know, people can comment on things, and obviously merchants, which they've already seemed to be able to you know, come up with some affiliations with, can also tie into this thing and start to promote, you know, special lines and things like that as well. So effectively, food spotting for fashion. I mean, simple as that.
Exactly. Perhaps I need this, but you know, again, crowdsourcing the trends. I definitely like this, and you know, there's a tipping point for a lot of these things that happens as a result of so many people taking photos or talking about it, and that's what you hope to generate from this. My only concern, though, with something like Snapchat is that it can be influenced. You know, you've got you know, a pretty grassroots campaign by somebody who wants their product to trend. They equip with a whole bunch of people with this and say, listen, go out and do this and take photos of this to bump it up. So there's got to be some protections in there, but this is really, we're talking about the nervous system, and this is where it really, 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 really starts to show when you start to add these kind of layers on top of it.
Yeah, one of the neat features about it is they have each individual user gets a thing called a virtual closet. So as you snap photos, basically you can throw them into your virtual closet. So almost like your own little bookmarking of things that you want to, items that you want to remember. And then you can tag them as I like that or I want that, and then you can share that through social networks as well. So sort of like your wish list that you can, or maybe, you know, your Christmas gift list or whatever, and you can push that out to your family and say, okay, this and this is what I want for Christmas, kind of thing. So that's a neat little feature as well.
Well, I think, you know, and photos are an interesting way to do it, but I'd also start looking at multi-input mechanisms like QR codes or barcodes or some way to do that, so that you really get a bigger picture of it, not just the picture. You know, so hopefully, you know, they start to expand that, and then it really becomes an all-encompassing piece. Because trending is so important, as we said. This is going to influence not only what you buy, but what a company inventories and the price they charge. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know that I'd use a service like this, but I can understand why a service like this would exist. I'm past the point, I think, of really caring about fashion. Is that bad?
Yeah, I think so.
If you see me walking down the street, you'll know who I am. Right? All right, well, that's good. Snapette, that's at snapette.com. Go and check them out. Or is it Snapette app? I don't want to make that a mistake.
It's an iPhone only app.
Yeah, I think it's Snapette app. Just do a search for it. You'll find it. We'll include a link up there. Right up there somewhere. All right, let's jump back to the funding and acquisitions. Funding, a couple of companies. they got some some funding, and this is kind of, it's great because you start to see the emerging mobile commerce and NFC pieces that everybody's talked about. And remember that here we are, September 5th, and 2011 was supposed to be the year of NFC, and we're not really seeing it as the year of NFC. Maybe the precursor to the year of NFC. Let's talk about Tapit. Small company?
Yeah, so Tapit is a really interesting company because, you know, it's focused on using NFC to actually push content and less focused on the actual payment side.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first time we've seen this. Obviously, you know, we've talked in the past about Google testing their NFC stickers. You know, the test they originally ran in Portland, and then they tested at Austin, South by Southwest, throwing stickers on windows and merchants all over the city. And you go in there with your Google Nexus phone, and which is NFC enabled, and you just basically wave it at it, and it can check you in, or it can give you information about that restaurant or whatever the case might be. And so that's effectively what Tapit is. So you just look for this Tapit sticker or logo wherever you go, and you tap it, and it brings you content about that place or about that thing. So simple, like it. You know, got some funding out of a group called the Sydney Angels this week. Amount wasn't disclosed, but apparently this was a really fast funding round. From the time they pitched until they got actual check was 22 days. That's pretty quick.
Wow.
So we'll this is, you know, just one of those companies we have to watch and see what happens. But it's Tapit, Tapit, and you know, NFC tap to get content.
And this is, we're going to see a lot of companies popping up, obviously, as NFC permeates the smartphones. It's limited in the market right now because it's only in a few devices. But,
right.
You know, just as we were saying in January, that 2011 is going to be this year of consolidation around the location-based marketing services companies. And we started to see that, obviously, over the last number of months.
Mm-hmm.
This NFC space is going to have the same thing. All these little companies that are going to be started, it's a big bet, it's a big play. And we're going to start to see some massive consolidation, you know, late 2011, early 2012, when it comes to these types of companies. There's only so many of these that you can actually accommodate and use effectively. So, but Tapit's one of them, and it's probably at the forefront, right? It's Google and Tapit, and then
and unlike some of the other companies we talk about, I actually like the name.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
GooTip doesn't make so much sense, but Tapit does.
Yeah.
Now here's one. iZettle, our second company, raised a little bit of money in Europe. iZettle. And this
iZettle, yeah.
You've described this company as what to me?
So this is the European version of Square.
Right.
And so this is all about enabling mobile payments on the go at low cost, you know, cutting out the high transaction fees for the merchants. And the difference between this and Square, as I understand it, is really in the technology itself and the adoption of the different card technologies in Europe versus North American market. So where Square has this little device that you plug into the top of your phone and you swipe a credit card through it, iZettle basically focuses on the chip card market, and so basically has a little chip reader that you plug into your phone and you stick your card into it, and it basically reads the chip and then processes the transaction that way. So there's no swipe; it's a stick-in chip reading type of functionality. And so the unconfirmed number is they raised 10 million euros this past week, which is a significant round, I think, for these guys. Again, this is an iPhone app or iPhone add-on product, and you can get it from the App Store. But I like this. I mean, I like this idea. I like Square. I like these guys. You know, I like this space of kind of mobile payments on the fly.
You know, it just dawned on me, and this is probably how slow I am on a Monday morning. But most of in Canada, most of the PIN systems like Interac, debit or credit cards have moved to the chip readers.
Yeah.
Right. So that a lot of them don't actually allow you to swipe, and now they're just all chip readers. And I wonder, does anybody know out there? Let us know if Square has a solution for chip reading. Smart cards really did proliferate in Europe. And chip-based cards proliferated in Europe far in advance than they did in Canada, in the United States and North America. So is that the tip over there? Are we seeing that? And is Square actually got something over here that allows you to do chip reading? And I don't. Does anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. And Square's still U.S. only. I mean, it's still not available here in Canada where we are.
Really, so we're chip-based now.
We're chip based, so maybe this is something we can talk to the iZettle guys and get that over here. But and by the way, iZettle's based in Sweden. So these guys are right there in the heart of Europe, and they do charge a transaction fee similar to the Square kind of model. So I think both of them charge 2.75%. Yeah. Which is a lot less than what the traditional merchant fees have been for credit card transactions. So,
well, I mean, it's here. I learned something. You've got to do some investigating to see what chip versus Stripe swipe are available from Square, because I think that's a massive hole. Because I think most of North America will go to this. Certainly, Canada has, and
no question. I mean, you think about all those merchants that want to be able to just do credit cards, or the independent cab drivers and all these kinds of guys, that just haven't started to process credit cards just because they don't want to pay the exorbitant fees. Yeah. That's the market that Square and iZettle are going after. Is all these little merchants out there, or maybe you're running your own little garage sale, or you're whatever it is. It really doesn't matter. That small business there and you just want to be able to process a credit card.
I tell you, we're heading to Gene Roddenberry's cashless society, man. Nobody's going to exchange dollar bills. They're going to be rare. You're going to hang them up on your wall at some point, because there's no need for dollars. And that's what I hope. It always surprises me. I don't know about you, but it surprises me when I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean I can't use my debit card here? What do you mean? I went to a restaurant, and this is... I went to a restaurant and they said, no debit. No debit. Can you imagine? So now, hopefully what they do is that they'll do transactions at the desk. Like they, through Swipe or through iZettle, they'll do transactions right at the table. That's very cool. So these guys, 10 million euros, reportedly 10 million euros. And we'll find out if Square has something down this. All right, that's it. On to the resource. Last thing, and we go back to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or last thing, and you guys who are listening can wake up. Sorry. So this was a Flurry study that came out last week that talked about in-app mobile advertising eclipsing or overtaking online display ad by the year's end. And this is a hype title. But
it's totally a hype title, and it really has nothing to do with location. But a lot of members of our association, anyways, the advertisers, the brands, always ask me about what are the ad opportunities on mobile, and as that relates to location. And so when I saw this, I thought, let's bring this forward and try and address the issue. So in-app mobile ad advertising to overtake online. And so the numbers are interesting. They tracked, I'm just going to read here for 1 second. So they tracked the number of ads shown per mobile app use session, and found that the average was 4.3 ads per session, with the average session, here's the key, lasting 4.2 minutes.
Yeah, it's incredible.
When you compare that to the length of a web session, which lasted just under 1 minute. Yeah. So I think that to me is significant. It's about time of use and engagement is much higher on the mobile side.
Yeah.
But you're a mobile guy, Rob. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a massive opportunity, right? They cite in this study 600,000 mobile applications. They're talking about 350 million iOS and Android devices. There's somewhere in the realm of 70 to 80 million BlackBerries out there. This is I mean, when you start to talk about the numbers, it's insanity to think that that it won't overtake online display ad. Now the big challenge when it comes to mobile is that we're bringing our traditional online display ad conventions over to the mobile device for the most part. We're putting a little stupid little banner, 300 by 50, in the bottom of a screen. It's not effective. So it might overtake it, but you've got to think a little bit more about your mobile marketing and your mobile advertising strategy, and don't just do what you're doing in the online world, because that's not going to be effective. The idea with this is that you want them to actually drive revenue. So how do you drive revenue in mobile with advertising? Well, you make it contextual and specific and location based, right? And time of day and weather dependent.
So totally, and I think the other thing too is that, you know, one thing to realize out of this is that you know, there's a lot of opportunity on the mobile platform, and it's relatively cost effective, you know, from an advertising point of view versus you know, online. And they also cite in here the CPM differences, you know, when you look at that. So they were talking about the typical CPM for a mobile ad is about, you know, $2.50. Yeah. Versus online, you know, you take like an ad on a Hulu video stream, they were talking about $10 to $15. Yeah. So, you know, there's definitely opportunity, but it's as you say, Rob, it's about, you know, making sure that you're factoring in all the pieces, location and context and everything else, and getting the most effectiveness out of that ad spend on the mobile platform.
Yeah, it's a different mentality, right? With an online display ad, you're driving people to websites, and most of it's done in research. The click-through rates aren't so great because it's not contextualized, you know, and it's also dependent on you. You know, now it's down to location even on a browser. But with mobile, massive opportunity to increase conversion rates, right, and click-through rates, and all those things that are important. But conversion is the most important. If you're around something that you're looking for, or you're searching for something and you're on the road, you have a massive opportunity to engage with a customer that's looking for a product that might want to buy it or might be driven to your store because they're on the road. And I think that if you're not doing this, it's very, 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 very bad if you don't do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So while I look at this, I think that there's probably a massive amount of inventory because of the engagement and the number of apps that are out there and the number of devices that are out there. It just doesn't mean you do the same thing you're doing online. You've got to start to think a little bit more strategically about your mobile ad spend and how you put it into context to the user. But I don't disagree with this. I just don't think that it's going to happen by the year's end. I think that it'll get there at some point, but it has to get there because of the sheer volume that we're talking about. How's that?
Excellent.
That's it.
That's it. We're done.
We have covered it on this Labor Day. Flickr geofencing, GooTip. Go and check them out. You know, adding it's the Q&A, the location-based Q&A. Wajam adds location data to exactly what you're looking for through your social graph. Janping, 20 times growth year over year. TopShop and SCVNGR, we've talked about a couple of financings, and the resource around Snappet, not Smurfette, and this great Flurry report talking about mobile ad display eclipsing or surpassing online ad display in the coming year. Believe it or not, that's it. I can't believe we've covered it all. We really appreciate the fact that you guys listen every episode. We've had some great response. Over the last number of episodes, we've seen numbers shoot up and interactions shoot up, and we really appreciate the interaction with you guys. And we'll respond where we can, and always respond to emails. You can reach me at untether@gmail.com. You can reach Asif at thelbma.com. And if you'd like to see what we're talking about, perfect example, episode number 39, we talked about location-based marketing for dummies with Mike Schneider. And I asked the question. I said, why did Mike write the book under the brand Dummies instead of just doing it under his own brand because he's developed that. And he wrote a very thoughtful, 800-word response. And I'll include a link up here. That's the kind of engagement we're getting. We love that kind of engagement. So if we're saying something that you don't agree with or that you agree with, that you want to offer some insight into, leave a response wherever you see this, because we'll highlight it and bring it to the forefront and let everybody know about it. That's part of it.
And also if you've got products out there that you're launching, or you've raised capital in the space, let us know about it. We're happy to put it into the queue and try and cover it as well. So, in particular, we love the comments, and just this week alone, thanks to ScreenReach and Ripple and Schneider Mike and all these guys that got back to us, Fwix, for the coverage. We appreciate it.
We love it. And hopefully there's some more from this. I don't even remember what we said. It was so early. All right, Asif, we'll see you next week for episode number 42 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Cheers.